So the other thing, which I was asked a lot, is about accent and pronunciation. There is a difference there, I think. Your pronunciation is amazing, which was the first thing
Thank you.
I
Thank you very
noticed when I
much.
heard you speak. But how, well, do you think that learners should be worried about their accent if they have a strong accent when doing the speaking exam?
Not at all. Actually, accent is not what affects your score on pronunciation. And if you look at the IELTS speaking band descriptors, you can see that there is fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and the final point is pronunciation. There is no such a thing as accent. It doesn't really matter what accent you have. As long as you pronounce the words correctly, as long as you get the stress pattern right, it's okay. You don't really need to worry about that. However, something they need to pay a lot of attention to is L1 interference. So their mother tongue should not interfere too much in a way that you don't understand, because English has its own intonation. And it's really important for the learners to pick up English intonation because that's one of pronunciation features. So if their intonation is still the same as it is in their mother tongue, they're probably not going to be able to score 7 on their pronunciation. Just notice how an Indian examiner speaks English. You can still hear the Indian accent, but you see they speak very clearly and you can very easily understand them. So accent does not really matter. They don't need to be very worried about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably reassuring for many people. I would say that intonation is a really good point because I hear a lot of learners who find it quite difficult. I mean, just as I do learning other languages, you know,
Mhm.
depending on your, as you said, your native language, it's difficult to adjust to that English intonation. And people will come to
Yes.
English being very, very flat and monotone. And we don't
Oh,
generally
yeah.
do that. And some people stress the wrong parts of the sentence. And it, yeah, I mean, what one advice that I always give, because again, it's not my IELTS examiner expertise, it's just my kind of common sense, is when you come to the end of your speaking section, it's a good idea to put your intonation down to kind of signify that
Yeah,
you're finished
sure.
speaking.
Sure. Yeah. That's what I always tell my students. I tell
Mm.
them when you're speaking and you finish your sentence with a rising intonation, it's like I'm waiting to hear more. I'm not expecting you to finish. So it's really good to have a kind of falling intonation at the end of your
Yeah.
speaking. So that's absolutely true.
I find it can be quite awkward as well listening because people often go, and this is why I think that. And then you're waiting and they go, and
Yes.
that's the end. And they have to say that awkward signal that I'm finished. It's just
It's,
not so
it's it's
natural.
very surprising. Yes, it's very surprising. And then yeah, that's why communication doesn't happen effectively. I think this is really, really important for candidates to remember about the IELTS. IELTS is all about effective communication.